a massive fantasy novel called 3 Ways to Survive in a Ruined World, clocking in at a mind-blowing 3,149 chapters. People just call it Ways of Survival for short. Now we've got our main dude, Doc Ja. This guy started reading this epic back in his high school days and stuck with it all the way to adulthood. Think about that. This novel was a 10-year project. Today, the final chapter drops. Doc Ja remembers the story like it was yesterday. It all kicks off with a subway car stuck on a bridge. See, these angry gods decide humanity needs a smackdown for being so messed up, so they unleash these terrifying trials. And as the world is falling apart, this hero, Jung Hyuk, and his crew are battling their way through it all. Originally, Ways of Survival was super popular, a real hit. However, people soon began to say it was too far-fetched, and the readership started to dwindle. By chapter 50, we're down to just 12 readers. But for Doc Ja, this story was everything. It helped him get through some rough years. He was obsessed, rereading chapters over and over. Eventually, past chapter 100, there was only one reader left. You guessed it, Doc Ja himself. And get this, even with only one reader, the author stuck with it for a decade, churning out over 300 chapters. And Doc Ja was right there with him, the loyal lone wolf reader. He was seriously jealous of the main character, Jung Hyuk. This guy was a total badass, taking down enemies left and right, never backing down from monsters. As his teammates started falling by the wayside, Jung Hyuk just got stronger, all to survive. Doc Ja, on the other hand, not so much. Even in high school, he was shy, weak, and got picked on by the school bullies. All he wanted was to be as strong as Jung Hyuk. Later on, Doc Ja ends up at a no-name college and lands a dead-end job at a game development company. Now today is a double whammy. The novel ends, and Doc Ja's contract at work is up. While he's grateful to the author for finishing the story, he's super bummed about the ending. Jung Hyuk is the only one who survives, and he says something like, "I can't help it if others have to sacrifice for me to live." So Doc Ja does what any dedicated fan would do. He fires off a message to the author, complaining about the unsatisfying ending. Doc Ja's on the train home, and guess who else is there? Sang-A, his co-worker. She's also getting off work, contract ending and all, but she's managed to snag a part-time gig. The girl's got dreams, she wants to start her fashion brand someday. And ugh, their sleazy boss is on the train too. This guy's always hitting on Sang-A in the most cringeworthy way. Today, he's laying it on thick, trying to get her to go to dinner with him. He doesn't even acknowledge Doc Ja's existence. That's how little he thinks of him. Sang-A totally hates this creep and does her best to shut him down. She breathes a sigh of relief when he gets off to get ready to exit the train. "If I weren't afraid of getting fired, I would have reported him a long time ago." Doc Ja, ever the peacemaker, chimes in with, "Better to be patient than cause trouble." But for Sang-A, being patient just means enduring more humiliation. Just then, Doc Ja gets a reply from the author of Ways of Survival. The message reads that the author thanks Doc Ja, saying he's the reason the novel was completed. Doc Ja quickly apologizes for being so harsh earlier, but the author responds that he's even going to write a special epilogue based on Doc Ja's feedback. The author dares Doc Ja if he doesn't like the ending, then he should write his own. This service is starting at 7 p.m. Show me the ending you want, the author writes. At that very moment, the train screeches to a halt right in the middle of a bridge. A notification blares. The free service of Planet System 8612 has ended. From now on, it's paid content. Doc Ja immediately pulls out his phone to check. It's exactly 7 p.m. This notification? He's read it a million times in the novel. Everything's happening exactly like the beginning of the story. A dokebi is about to appear. Sure enough, a cute doll-like creature pops into existence out of thin air, telling everyone to shut up and listen. But the passengers just think it's some kind of scam or prank and demand that the train start moving again. That's when the dokebi gets mad. Like really mad. It makes the guy who was complaining spontaneously combust right in front of everyone. Talk about a bad trip. Once everyone is silenced by fear, the dokebi announces, "The gods above have decided that humans, the most vulgar, greedy, and selfish species in the universe, must be punished. It looks like it's live streaming everything to constellations to view. From this moment on, each of you will be given a scenario. How you handle that scenario will determine your fate. The first scenario is beginning now. Kill one or more living creatures in this subway car within the next 10 minutes. If you succeed, you will receive 300 coins. If you fail, you will suffer the same fate as that man. Forget about laws and ethics. Just show us the true nature of humanity." So the clock is ticking down. Outside, all the cars are frozen in place, like time just hit pause. Phones are dead, no service. Doc Ja spots a little kid, clutching a terrarium full of ants, all alone. No parents in sight. Meanwhile, people are losing their minds. They're already brawling, trying to kill each other to complete the scenario. And it's not just in their car. It's spreading to the next one too. And get this, Doc Ja sees a figure in a black coat in the next car, looking exactly like Jung Hyuk from the novel. That's when it hits him like a ton of bricks. The novel has become a reality, which means Doc Ja knows the future. And just like he remembers from the book, a giant alligator lizard thing comes crashing out of the river, whipping its tail and rocking the train car like crazy. Then, Doc Ja remembers the ants in that kid's terrarium. The scenario just said to kill a living creature, right? So everyone could just kill an ant and be done with it. He grabs an ant and hands it to Sang-A, then tries to explain the solution to everyone else. But everyone is too busy beating each other up. Nobody's listening. Doc Ja takes matters into his own hands, pinches an ant dead. Instantly, a system message pops up. Someone has completed the scenario and received 300 coins. Now everyone's attention is on Doc Ja, and they finally listen to him explain his ant-killing plan. But the problem is, there aren't enough ants for everyone. Panic sets in, and everyone's afraid of being left out. Suddenly, their old boss, Director Han, barges in and tries to grab the terrarium, saying he'll distribute the ants to everyone. Before Doc Ja can react, the terrarium is ripped away from the kid. Then, a complete free-for-all erupts as people scramble to snatch those ants. Doc Ja turns around and sees some jerk kicking a poor old lady. This guy still has 2 ants in his hand, so Doc Ja offers him one to spare the old lady. But this dude is cold. He says he's already got an ant to kill and points to the old lady. Doc Ja recognizes him. It's Kim Nam-woon from the novel, one of Jung Hyuk's teammates. Because Doc Ja interfered with him, killing the old lady, Kim Nam-woon decides to make Doc Ja his new target. He burns all 300 coins to boost his strength, and immediately punches the jerk, Kim Nam-woon, across the train car. But surprise! Nam-woon activates a skill, the Grimdark Awakening. In the novel, he was the first one to get a Constellation sponsorship. Now he's powered up and easily overpowers Doc Ja. Meanwhile, the other passengers are still fighting over the terrarium, and they accidentally knock over a tube full of ant eggs right in front of Doc Ja. He's got an idea. Are ant eggs considered living creatures? He crushes the tube, and bam! He gets a ton of 300 coin rewards, over 40,000 in total. He immediately spends 3,000 coins on stamina, and another 3,000 on agility. The tables have turned. Now it's Nam-woon who's getting beaten down by Doc Ja. With only a few dozen seconds left on the clock, Nam-woon begs for mercy, promising not to kill the old lady and asking for just 1 ant. But Doc Ja has decided he doesn't need this guy in his story. He steps in front of the old lady, shielding her from Nam-woon's desperate rage, and places an ant in her hand. Finally, time's up. Nam-woon and all the other passengers, who failed to complete the scenario, get a giant hole blasted through their heads and collapse on the spot. Shockingly, the old lady didn't kill the ant, so she suffers the same gruesome fate. The Dokkaebi reappears. Congratulations to the 17 individuals who cleared the first scenario. Using ants didn't violate the rules. The constellations say this car is way more entertaining than the others. Now it's time for constellation sponsorships. Identifying the person who will receive a constellation sponsorship is a wonderful gift. If you choose correctly, it will greatly help in solving future scenarios. Essentially, the constellations are watching this livestream from outer space for their entertainment. They enjoy laughing at the struggles humans are going through to survive. Each person gets to choose a sponsorship that the constellations are suggesting. If you are selected to receive their support, it can be helpful. But someday that debt must be paid. Doc Ja gets a bunch of offers, but he scrolls all the way to the bottom and chooses to decline all sponsorships. Just then, the train car lurches violently. The giant alligator lizard is dragging it into the river, causing Doc Ja's car to tilt sideways. So this soldier dude is trying to pry open the train doors to escape. Doc Ja recognizes him as Hyeon Song, another key character who teams up with Jung Hyuk in the novel. He quickly tells Hyeon Song to use his skill instead of just brute force. There's a skill window in the lower right corner of your vision. Just think of your skill and it should work. Hyeon Seong figures it out and activates his skill, hunting the high mountain eagle. His strength skyrockets, allowing him to bend the train doors open like they're made of tin foil. He and Doc Ja help the other survivors escape the train car. Finally, Hyeon Song climbs out, leaving only Doc Ja behind. Just as he's about to leave, Doc Ja spots the little kid with the ant terrarium standing at the end of the car. Doc Ja rushes to save him, but the kid is actually upset that he ruined his ant farm. In the end, Doc Jaw has to carry the kid out of the train car. As the group is running across the bridge, a sub-scenario suddenly pops up. Cross the broken bridge. Sang A is wondering where the bridge is broken, when the alligator lizard bursts out of the river and smashes the section of the bridge right in front of them. But wait, Doc Jaw gleefully cranks up the difficulty by turning the dead passengers into zombies, sending them shambling towards the survivors. These zombies don't even flinch from Doc Jaw's superpowered punch. Just when things look hopeless, Sang A accidentally activates some kind of skill, creating a temporary road across the broken section of the bridge. But Doc Jaw warns them that poisonous gas is about to spread. We need to get underground now. More importantly, we need to collect as many coins as possible. First, let's head to the nearest subway station. He's thinking, if he can get on the same train with Jung Hyuk, they'll be safe. But wait a minute. At the beginning of the novel, Jung Hyuk dies at the station fighting a fire dragon. Then, he uses his regression skill to go back to the beginning of the story. The problem is, if Jung Hyuk dies, Doc Jaw won't survive either. He can't defeat the fire dragon on his own. But if he can tell Jung Hyuk about the tactics he knows and they fight together, they might have a chance. Just then, Jung Hyuk emerges from the train wreckage, coldly slashing down zombies with his sword. It looks like he's been through this loop so many times, he knows the scenario by heart. He also seems to realize that there's something special about Doc Jaw. Nam Woon shouldn't have died so early, he says. Doc Jaw denies everything, but he can't fool Jung Hyuk. Jung Hyuk has a skill that detects lies. He also figured out that Doc Jaw knows how to use coins. Just what are you? He asks. Doc Jaw's afraid that Jung Hyuk won't believe him if he tells the truth, so he only reveals that. In a few days, Jung Hyuk will die fighting the fire dragon at Chungmuro Station. Even using regression will take a long time to overcome this scenario. But Doc Jaw knows the tactics, and if they fight together, they can defeat the fire dragon. Jung Hyuk can tell that what Doc Jaw is saying is the truth. Doc Jaw quickly claims that he has a precognition skill, but Jung Hyuk threatens to drop Doc Jaw into the river if he doesn't spill all those tactics right now. I prefer to go alone. I don't want to take others with me. Do you know why humans are being punished? You survive and get to Chungmuro Station, and then I'll tell you if you want to fight together. With that, Jung Hyuk casually shoves Doc Jaw into the river, right where the ferocious alligator lizard is waiting. Jung Hyuk, you son of a... Doc Jaw barely gets the curse out before he falls straight into the lizard's mouth. Luckily, he doesn't get chomped to pieces. Instead, he slides right down into its stomach. A hidden scenario pops up. Kill the alligator lizard and escape its stomach. The difficulty is A level, and the reward is a whopping 9,000 coins. But Doc Jaw doesn't have a single weapon on him. Suddenly, the Dokebi appears to livestream the event to the constellations. Doc Jaw realizes he can try to schmooze the Dokebi and get him to give him an item. He directly addresses the Dokebi by his name, Bi-hyung, which surprises him. You run the Starstream channel, right? Your channel must be booming. Who's been as entertaining as me so far? The constellations must be super curious to see what I'll do next. Now, if you kill me, can you handle the backlash? Hearing that, Bi-hyung starts an ad break to talk privately with Doc Jaw. He's really curious about how Doc Jaw knows all this stuff. But Doc Jaw doesn't answer. He just lies on the flattery and taunting. How long are you going to keep begging for scraps, like a mediocre 9th grade Dokebi? Let the constellations into your channel and show them the stories of humans. Get tons of donations, and you'll become a first-rate Dokebi. I can guarantee that my story will be incredibly interesting. Sign an exclusive contract with me, and you'll become the king of Dokebis. Seeing that Bi-hyung's still not convinced, Doc Jaw asks, why do the constellations watch his channel? They want to be entertained, to witness humans struggling to survive. If I get out of here and overcome all the scenarios, you'll get tons of donations. Look at how much you've already gotten. Sure enough, Bi-hyung checks his account and sees he's received an unprecedented amount of donations. So he happily agrees to sign a contract with Doc Jaw, splitting the profits 55-10. Doc Jaw gets the better end of the deal. At that moment, the alligator lizard's stomach acid starts flowing. Bi-hyung switches the livestream back on. Doc Jaw asks him to open the Dokebi shop and buy a bunch of sharp spikes. He takes the spikes and starts stabbing them into the lizard's stomach lining, making it roar in pain. Apparently, in the novel, Jung Hyuk also got stuck in the stomach of an alligator lizard once. If you block all the acid ducts in its stomach with spikes, it'll die. But the problem is, there are way too many ducts. Meanwhile, outside, Jung Hyuk is still thinking about what Doc Jaw said. And then he cracks a mysterious smile. What is he up to? Back inside the monster, Doc Jaw perseveres, blocking duct after duct, and finally completes the scenario. He even reaches into the stomach wall and pulls out the alligator lizard's nucleus, completely shocking Bi-hyung. He tells him to take it out and auction it off, and he only wants to exchange it for faith energy. Bi-hyung is amazed that Dokja knows so much. Apparently, faith energy is a very valuable item. He happily gives Dokja a gift package containing 5 items. Then Dokja puts on the mask and escapes. He's barely caught his breath on the shore when he gets sponsorship offers from a ton of constellations. It seems they're really entertained by Dokja's playing style. But he's not interested and tells Bi-hyung to turn off all the sponsorship notifications. Dokja goes into a convenience store to find some food, and he accidentally finds 2 dead girls and 1 barely alive. The girl is outside a giant mantis that is attacking, so he carries the girl and runs into the subway, then slams the gate shut behind him. A group of thugs appears. It turns out that this girl, Hee-won, was beaten and raped by them. She managed to escape but was poisoned by gas. After that, Dokja saved her. Dokja remembers this scene from the novel and knows the name of the leader, Bang Cheol-soo. He spends 1,500 coins to buy strength and easily beats down the 3 thugs. Cheol-soo is super confident because some constellation gave him a skill, but Dokja still manages to beat him. Just as they're about to gang up on Dokja, a man in a suit appears. As soon as Cheol-soo's crew sees him, they immediately back off and retreat. Dokja is wondering who this guy is when he sees Sang-ae, Hyeon-song, and the little kid coming up. Sang-ae is bandaging Dokja's wounds, while telling him that the politician is the leader of the survivors at this station. He convinces high-level people to go out hunting, and then shares the coins with the residents. The little kid, Gil-young, shows off that he can talk to insects by holding his hand up to his head like an antenna. Dokja asks about Jung Hyok, but it turns out he didn't show up at this station. Hyeon-seong says Jung Hyok crossed the bridge and walked to Namsan, even though the poisonous gas had been released. Dokja is a little confused because they haven't even cleared the Gyeomho station scenario yet. Things are starting to deviate from the events in the novel. Just then, someone reminds everyone to pay the survival fee within 3 hours. It turns out that the Gyeomho station scenario requires a survival fee from all residents until the monster is defeated. 100 coins per day. Those who don't have coins have to risk their lives to go out hunting. People who can't pay the survival fee die on the spot. Talk about dystopian. Suddenly, a group of people comes up and demands that Dokja give his coins to the politician, so he can distribute them to everyone. Apparently, someone told them that he went out hunting monsters and earned a lot of coins, which is why he's so strong. Dokja tries to explain that he's never gone hunting, and that whoever earns the coins gets to keep them. But the desperate people insist that he hand over his coins. Dokja promises to give each of them 100 coins if they reveal who told them he earned coins by hunting. The politician steps forward and admits that he guessed Dokja had a lot of coins because he was so strong. He acts all reasonable and even bows an apology for acting rudely. Please, Dokja, share your coins to save everyone. But Dokja smiles contemptuously and refuses. Even if they survive today, what about tomorrow? The politician keeps trying to persuade Dokja, but it is to no avail. Just as the politician is about to give up, Dokja agrees to help. Instead of giving them coins, he'll solve this station scenario today. He'll go into the tunnel and kill the monster. Actually, Dokja already realized that this old politician is In-ho, a guy who sold his soul to the constellations, giving up his humanity to become a monster. He's the one pulling the strings behind Bang Cheol-soo's gang of thugs. He will not allow anyone to overcome the Gyeomho station scenario. Human nature is to bow down to the strong. A weak person like Dokja suddenly gains great power. He will definitely bravely rush forward. Once Dokja dies, they will steal his coins. It turns out their boss, Director Han, was the one who revealed that Dokja had a lot of coins. Sang-ae and Hyeon-song are a little hesitant when Dokja asks them to go monster hunting. But Gil-young is really excited. Besides the 3 of them, Dokja also invites Hee-won to join the party. Today, Hee-won told them about the crimes of the politician In-ho. He called on people to go hunting to earn coins, then secretly killed them to steal their coins, because when people die, all the coins on them are dropped. Her friends were killed when they resisted them. The tunnel gets so dark that you can't see anything, let alone fight. Dokja tells Gil-young to use his insect communication skills. The boy holds his hand up to his head and calls the fireflies to light up the tunnel. They also warn him that the monster is coming. Dokja tells everyone to use all their coins to buy strength and agility. The monster quickly attacks from the darkness. Dokja, Hyeon-seong, and Hee-won rush to fight the monsters, while Sang-A supports from behind, shooting webs. Suddenly, a monster bites Sang-A from behind and drags her away. The group rushes after it onto a train. The Fireflies warn Gil-young that there's a very strong monster in this direction. When they get off the train, a scenario appears. You have entered the Earthrat Temple. Eliminate the Dark Keeper. Here, Dokja rushes in and slashes at the monster, but is immediately knocked back. As he's wondering whether to buy an item, Hyeon-song charges in. Dokja didn't expect him to be so strong. He's just using brute strength to beat the monster. It activates Illusion Prison. Illusion Prison imprisons the body and ravages the mind. If you get trapped in it, you'll relive your most horrific memories and die. Hee-won gets hit with the move and relives her most painful memory, when her group was attacked by the thugs led by In-ho. Fortunately, Dokja can rescue her in time, pulling her out of the illusion. First, he goes to save Gil-young. Unfortunately, Hyeon-song gets hit with the move and relives his own painful memories from his time in the military. Dokja tries to save him, but is unsuccessful. The monster then unleashes a bunch of its minions to attack them. Dokja asks Hee-won to hold it off for a bit while he calls Bi-hyung, asking him to buy White Star Energy from the Dokkaebi shop. But Bi-hyung says the item costs 50,000 coins, and Dokja is 1,000 short, so Dokja has to kill a few small monsters to earn the extra coins. When Hee-won can't hold out against the boss any longer, Dokja finally has enough coins to buy the White Star Energy. He attaches it to his weapon and deals a fatal blow to the boss. The illusion breaks, and they all return to the tunnel. Hyeon-seong also wakes up, although he's still reeling from being trapped in the painful illusion. In the novel, Hyeon-seong is tormented by guilt for not being able to save anyone, so he can't use his abilities to their full potential. Dokja realizes that he's exactly the same here. It's just like playing a game. After defeating the boss, everyone gets a treasure chest. Hee-won gets 2 swords. Hyeon-seong gets gauntlets. Sang-A gets a cloak, and the kid Gil-young gets a hat that lets him hear insects better. Finally, Dokja gets a broken sword. Only Dokja knows that it's called Broken Faith. If he has faith energy, the sword will be completed. Finally, Gil-young finds some glowing stones on the ground. Dokja tells him that if you eat these, you'll fall into the illusion prison. He tells Gil-young to stay away from them, but secretly puts one in his pocket. Everyone questions why he knows so much, as if he's lived in this world before. But Dokja claims that he has a precognition skill, knowing some of the things that will happen. But when Sang-A asks what the world will be like in the future, he doesn't dare tell the brutal truth, and lies that everything will go back to normal. We have to get through 99 scenarios. There is one person who can do that, the hero who can overcome all scenarios and save the world. That is Jung Hyuk, whom they had met on the bridge. The problem is, he's going to die tomorrow fighting a monster. When that happens, this world will end, and things can never go back to the way they were. By any means, I will have to stop that from happening. Now, we need to get to the station. But they realize they haven't completed the scenario at this station yet. Hee-won says there's still one more monster. Then she stabs to death one of the thugs who killed people to steal coins. In-ho's gang immediately appears. It turns out the monster Hee-won was talking about is the politician himself. In-ho orders his minions to kill Dokja and the others to steal their coins. Hee-won, who was given the Judgment Hour skill by the constellation Judge of the Fiery Hell, slices through the evil gang like she's cutting fruit. With all his minions dead, In-ho is forced to take action himself. This guy has a huge, super strong arm, but in the end, he's still defeated by Hee-won. Just as she's about to kill him, the other people suddenly stop her. From the beginning, they didn't want to clear this scenario, because they were afraid the next scenario would be even more difficult. At the station next door, they heard that people had opened the next scenario and were massacred. They'd rather just pay 100 coins every day. They didn't even bother telling Dokja's group, because they thought they'd be cleansed by the monster like the others. They thought that they could pick up the coins. They will let us do all the work and wait to pick up the scraps. It's all thanks to Dokja and his group who worry for them. But it turns out they're all selfish, inhuman people. Dokja suddenly remembers Jung Hyuk's question. Why are humans being punished? Dokja's group used up all their coins to defeat the monsters, and there are only 3 minutes left until the deadline to pay the survival fee. Taking advantage of Hyun's distraction, In-ho breaks free and runs away. Dokja's group quickly chases after him, using Sang-A's web to swing like Spider-Man. Just as they're about to catch him, they're stopped by an invisible wall. This is a barrier. They need to clear the scenario to pass through it. In-ho is the last monster they need to kill to pass the level. With less than 20 seconds left, Dokja's group is completely desperate. Suddenly, Inho is shot in the head by a sniper. The girl who just shot the sniper takes all the coins that were dropped. Sang-A thinks she looks dangerous, so she tries to turn back to the old station, but she's stopped by the barrier. It turns out they've slipped into the new scenario at Chungmuro Station. The sniper girl warns, this scenario isn't a place to band together. Everyone has to look out for themselves. Then she runs off like the wind. Doc Ja recognizes her as Ji Hai, a high school girl. When the first scenario appeared, she was the only one in her class who survived. And later she became Jung Hyok's disciple. The system announces, the fourth day of the Chungmuro Station scenario is beginning. In 10 minutes, monsters will appear. Green zones will be created. Anyone who wants to live must stand in a green zone. The number of survivors is currently 104, but the number of green zones today is only 52. Inside the station, everyone's fighting like crazy to grab a spot in the green zones. There's even a VIP area that a gang has roped off, and is selling spots in for 750 coins each. One guy tries to pay with cash, even offering $100,000. But in this apocalyptic world, cash is the most useless thing you can have. It turns out this guy was foolish enough to exchange his coins for cash yesterday, hoping that the world would return to normal and he'd be rich. The silver-haired dude and his minions laugh in his face. This money is what I traded to you for your coins. It's thanks to fools like you that I became a coin tycoon. You're going to die in poverty. Just then, the system warns that someone is invading the VIP area. The machine guns on the ceiling turn and start firing. The silver-haired dude must have used coins to buy the machine guns to protect his VIP area. That's when Doc Ja and his group arrive at the station and see the chaotic scene. He tells them they have to split up. Everyone has to find a green zone and protect it to survive. But he knows there aren't any spots left. If you want to live, you have to take it from someone else. Ji Hai has heard about Doc Ja from Jung Hyok. Why are you still standing here? If you're a prophet, you must know where the reward green zones will appear. It turns out Doc Ja is still struggling with the guilt of saving only himself. Ji Hai relays Jung Hyok's message to him. He agrees to cooperate with you, so you should leave the others behind and survive tonight on your own. When he was little, Doc Ja and another kid were once forced to fight each other by bullies. Whoever won would escape being bullied. Doc Ja absolutely refused to fight his friend to save himself, but his friend ended up hitting him first. Using his memory of the novel, Doc Ja easily finds a specific tile. It's not a green zone yet. Just then, his teammates find him. They can't find any empty green zones. The Dokebi managing this scenario announces that there's less than a minute left. He hasn't seen enough desperate madness from everyone, so he decides to add to the drama. Some green zones disappear, and some new green zones will appear. This makes the scramble even more intense. That's when Sang-A realizes that the tile under Doc Ja's feet has turned green. Doc Ja urges them to go and take a green zone from someone else, if they want to survive. There's no other choice. Hyeon Song doesn't have the heart to do it, while Hee-won suggests they all kill the monsters like in the last scenario. At that moment, monsters pour out of the teleportation gates, attacking the people who haven't claimed a green zone. Seeing Hee-won and the others deciding to risk their lives fighting the monsters, Doc Ja has a huge internal conflict. After a moment, he finally gets enough courage to step out of the safe zone and follow them. He tells the team to split into two groups, heading towards the two teleportation gates. To increase the entertainment for the constellations, green zones may appear in the most dangerous places, so he picks up Gil Young and runs in one direction, while the other three run in the opposite direction. The monsters are numerous, but they're not too strong individually, so they can hold their own. While fighting, Sang-A spots 3 green squares on the wall. At that time, Gil Young asks why Doc Ja changed his mind and followed them. Doc Ja explains that he doesn't like the ending of the novel, when only one hero survives, and that hero is a jerk. Just then, Doc Ja sees Jung Hyok taking one of the 2 green squares on the wall. He tells Jung Hyok to get out of there, because he doesn't need the green zone. But Jung Hyok says if Doc Ja wants to fight the fire dragon with him, he has to abandon the boy and take the remaining green zone on the other side. Sang-A uses her web to pull Hyeon Seong into the green zone with her, so now 3 people are safe. Here, Doc Ja puts the boy in the green zone and goes back into the station, running from the monsters as he takes out the stone. Finally, he gets pinned down by the monsters. He puts the stone in his mouth and swallows it, and the illusion prison is immediately activated, isolating Doc Ja from the monsters. But he also falls into the illusion and has to relive the most terrifying memory of his life. It's still that time he gets hit by his friend and hits back. The 2 of them are fighting like enemies. While Doc Ja is struggling to fight the illusion, his teammates abandon their safe zone to protect him from the monsters. That's true friendship. Here, Doc Ja is frantically hitting that guy until he drops to his knees and begs for mercy. He tries to comfort himself that if other people have to sacrifice for him to survive, then so be it. Not long after, that friend passed away. Doc Ja heard the news, and his regret was heavy. In the novel, Jung Hyuk once told Doc Ja that it wasn't his fault, because he often found himself in a situation where he had to sacrifice others to survive. There was nothing else he could do, but when reading the ending of the story, Doc Ja thought it was too scary. He was afraid it would happen to him. So he wants a different ending. He wants to survive to the end, together with his teammates. Jung Hyuk suddenly uses his dream speaking skill to appear in Doc Ja's illusion. Helping each other? Humans aren't programmed to do things like that. I used to think like you, but after losing so many teammates in hellish battles, I find it more comfortable to fight alone. That's when Doc Ja wakes up and sees that he's with his teammates. It turns out they've been fighting the monsters all night to save Doc Ja's life. He realizes a critical point. They survived outside the green zone, which means this scenario also has a different way to solve it. Since Hyun Seong and Gil Young are badly injured, the two girls offer to find a green zone for them, while the three healthy people will stand outside and protect them. But Doc Ja reveals that Jung Hyuk will die today, the last day of the Chungmuro Station scenario. A fire dragon will appear, Jung Hyuk will fight it, and he'll be killed. He's the main character of the story. When he dies, the whole world will be destroyed in a matter of minutes. To prevent that, they have to kill the dragon, which means one of them will definitely die. One volunteers to sacrifice herself, but Doc Ja says that he will be the one to die. The Dokkaebi reminds everyone that the theme of this scenario is that everyone has to fight for their own safe spot. But yesterday, some people helped each other and survived outside the green zone. This has angered the constellations, so the difficulty will be increased today. There are 57 survivors, but there will only be one green zone. And whoever gets the green zone will be decided by the end of the scenario. The silver-haired dude Pildu is the chosen one. These insidious puppets are only happy if things are in chaos. Here, Doc Ja begs Ji-Hai for help, but she only wants to win the last green zone, and blames him for being brave without consideration, thereby adding more difficulty for everyone. In this world, the strong will always be the survivors. I like it that way. It's simple and fair. It turns out that Ji-Hai killed her best friend and desk mate to get through the first scenario. She was the only one in her class who survived. She still justifies herself by saying there was no other way, but Doc Ja knows that in her heart, Ji-Hai is always deeply remorseful. After talking to Ji-Hai, Doc Ja calls out Bi-Young. This guy is ecstatic, because Doc Ja's livestream has exploded in popularity. He tells him to convert all the donations into coins. It's time for Doc Ja to play his final move. Ji-Hai raises her sniper rifle, aiming straight at the silver-haired dude Pildu. Suddenly, Doc Ja appears, offering to hire him to do something. I want to hire you for a day. Is 100,000 coins enough? The greedy old man immediately agrees, even though he doesn't believe Doc Ja has that much. At that moment, the green zone suddenly shifts from Pildu to Doc Ja. He immediately pulls out his sword and starts smashing the tile over and over. The surrounding people are shocked and try to stop him, but Ji-Hai has figured out Doc Ja's plan. After thinking carefully, she pulls the trigger and makes an incredible shot. The bullet ricochets around before lodging into the tile. When it shatters, the green color disappears. So now there are no green zones at all. The system announces that monsters will pour in within a minute. That's when Doc Ja explains, if there weren't any green zones from the beginning, we would have united to fight the monsters. That way we could all survive. After speaking those words, he transfers 100,000 coins to Pildu, tasking him with protecting everyone here. Not one person can die. Pildu organizes everyone to defend around the VIP area, then summons the machine gun turrets and climbs on top, charging straight towards the teleportation gates. That's when the horde of monsters pours out, immediately getting blasted by Pildu's 2 machine guns. Their bodies pile up like mountains. But it seems like their numbers are endless. Many begin to escape the machine gun tower, only to be met and defeated by Doc Ja's battle formation. Inside the station, the battle is incredibly intense. Hyun Seong clutches his head in pain from the sound of the machine guns, which reminds him of the haunting memories from his time in the military. Jung Hyuk has appeared and seems very indifferent to what's happening. That's when the fire dragon crawls up from under the tracks, immediately breathing fire and killing people. Doc Ja chases after Jung Hyuk and tries to persuade him not to fight, because he knows he'll die. But Jung Hyuk disregards his warning, holding a gun in one hand and a sword in the other, charging straight into the fire dragon. He's indeed very strong. He cuts off its wing with one sword stroke. The fire dragon is no match for Jung Hyuk. It's stabbed in the chest after just a few more attacks. But the system sees that the game is too boring and decides to increase the difficulty. Space shatters, and they seem to be lost in a galaxy in the distant universe. The fire dragon also evolves into a new level. Dokja is stunned by all of this. This isn't in the novel. Jung Hyuk still confidently charges forward, and then the sword shatters like glass hitting a rock. He doesn't flinch, takes out another sword, and keeps fighting. But he gets stabbed in the stomach by the fire dragon after just a few moves. He pulls it out and takes another sword, but it's no use. Dokja tells Sang-ae to pull him out immediately. Dokja swallows the ice attribute stone to resist fire and charges into a solo monster. But he's nowhere near as strong as Jung Hyuk, so he gets beaten down badly. But thanks to the fire resistance, he's able to hold on. Suddenly, a giant mantis flies in from a distance and knocks the fire dragon down. It turns out that Gil Young risked his life to save Dokja. The fire dragon breaks off the mantis's claw, causing Gil Young to bleed from the nose. Even so, he continues to persevere. The fire dragon breaks another of the mantis's claws and pounds on it. Gil Young is covered in blood, but he continues to fight stubbornly. Seeing the boy's bravery, Hyeon Song seems to awaken, and his attributes suddenly skyrocket. He goes crazy, charging into a solo against the fire dragon, catching its attack with both hands, and then making a mountain of rock grow in the middle. Sang-ae shoots webs, creating a path for one to charge straight at the fire dragon and stab it over and over. After she completes the mission, it's Hyeon Seong's turn to punch and imprison the fire dragon with mountains of rock. Dokja flies down from above to deliver the finishing blow. Unexpectedly, it dodges and spits fire at him. But seeing that Dokja isn't afraid of the fire, the dragon gets angry and spits randomly at the other people. Dokja and Sang team up again to pull off the decisive move. Yesterday, he explained this tactic to the whole team. There's a round scale on the dragon's chest, and the energy core is inside. If we pierce the scale, we can defeat it. The problem is, whoever breaks the scale is sure to die. I'll break the scale, then Sang-ae will tie its hands up, and one has to pierce the core. Defeating the fire dragon will grant the right to revive one person who has died. This is the only way for us to survive together. Executing the plan perfectly, Dokja charges at the fire dragon and stabs it straight in the chest. Sang-ae shoots webs, tying its hands up. The dragon gets angry and flies around wildly. Dokja stubbornly refuses to let go, but he still can't pierce the scale on its chest. Suddenly, Ji-hai takes action, supporting with a shot. Thanks to this, Dokja can pierce the scale on the dragon's chest. But unfortunately, before one can pierce its core, the dragon manages to burn the web to escape from its restraint. Moreover, the scale on its chest automatically recovers. The plan has completely failed. At this point, it's Jung Hyuk's turn to go all out against the dragon. Jung Hyuk pretends to lose, then stabs backward, piercing the dragon's chest scale. He knows he has to die, but he's not afraid. On the contrary, he's somewhat anticipating what Dokja will do next. In the end, things still happen as in the novel. To Dokja's despair, Jung Hyuk is burned to a crisp. Immediately, the regression skill is activated. Jung Hyuk will live again, but Dokja's group will not. The main character has died. This world will soon vanish. In the moment of despair, the system announces, the alligator lizard nucleus has been exchanged for faith energy, and the person performing the exchange is TLSON 123. Could that be the author? Perhaps the author really wants Dokja to write a new ending to the story. So Dokja urges Bihyung to deliver the new item to him. As soon as the faith energy is attached to the hilt of the sword, the broken faith sword immediately becomes an attribute weapon. There's still a chance. Hyeon Seong is in charge of holding off the fire dragon. One cuts off its wing. Sang-ae shoots webs to bind it tightly. And finally, it's Dokja. He flies up, sticks the sword in the middle of the dragon's chest, and stabs it deep. Finally, the scenario is completed. Dokja gets 10,000 bonus points, and, most importantly, the right to revive one person. He immediately revives Jung Hyuk, also saving this entire world. Jung Hyuk, are you okay? I didn't think you could do it. Everyone happily congratulates each other after escaping from the near-death experience. Dokja has proven that it's not necessary to sacrifice other people's lives to survive. Unity and a spirit of sacrifice help them overcome the challenge. From here on, Dokja and his friends will write the new ending to the story together.